welcome to Andy K's. We are here with part 2 as we look at the Empress and Emperor, or in this deck, which is the Landback Tarot and Oracle of Colonization. It is today's future and yesterday's foundation. So in the first part, we talked about how, as I was looking at creating the Landback Tarot and thinking about decolonizing the cards, I thought about the meanings of the cards. And the positive meanings of the cards actually do have positive attributes as well as negative attributes. And those positive attributes can actually be positive. And so I chose to rename these cards so that it is easier to see both their positive and negative aspects, because it's hard to see positive aspects when you're staring at an Empress and an Emperor, and these are beings that exert so much harm and control. Now, with the charlatan, I didn't feel that way. So the Heirophant became the charlatan, and we looked at how those are all negative qualities. And his role in the 5's in tarot. And one of the things we talked about was how much in common the Emperor and the Heirophant have. And this is because they co-control. Whether you understand that about the political structure of states and empires or not, religious leadership, especially a pope or Hierophant, shares control with an emperor or a president or a prime minister. They share control. Whether you think you're a secular nation or not, that's how capital colonialism works. They do share control. One makes the laws that uphold it, and the other makes the moral laws that ethically enforce it. So they very, very much work together. But we can see positive and negative qualities in a positive Emperor card, and those negative qualities have a play. So the qualities of the Emperor, we talk about control, stability, reason, will, tradition, emotional control, order, manifestation, and temperance, as all those things actually, plus adaptability. So many of these attributes themselves are both positive and negative attributes. And this is one of the tricky things about the Emperor card, is there's a really fine line. There's a really fine line, and in this card particularly, between what is positive and what is negative. Control, positive and negative. Stability, positive and negative. Reason, positive and negative. Most of these attributes are balanced with the Empress or today's future card, but these are the positive and negative aspects. So why then, do we see the negative aspects, more in the 4's and tarots? And we maybe see the negative aspects portrayed more. But there is room for positive interpretations in them. It's hard because the images do largely direct us towards the negative attributes. So why? Well, the the emperor in today's the emperor in yesterday's foundation, they are represented by Aries, who's the god of war. He's aggressive, imposing, anger. I have another word on my list to remember that I can't remember and can't read. Conservative. So yeah. So those are aspects of the emperor that we see. And really that makes sense because they absolutely are the godlike beings who decide everybody else is about to go to war. And there's an aspect to that in our lives in metaphorical ways and within the 4's. And so we're going to look at them and see where we see them. So also we have temperance. This temperance is a really painful temperance. And I'll do a full video on it. But temperance comes after death. Temperance is everything about the 4 plus an adding of adaptability. Temperance is about regaining stability after death. So it's temperance. You don't have to call on temperance because everything's hunky-dory. You call on temperance because shit's hitting the fan. And you've been dealing with shit hitting the fan, and now you just have to figure out how to pull yourself back together again. That's temperance. So we do see these things in temperance. In temperance, we can see the emperor working against us and us bringing adaptability into those positive qualities of yesterday's foundation to pull us through. So these are the cards, the bases of the cards, and let's get into it. Also, I haven't said it yet, but please, absolutely, please like, comment, and subscribe. And also check out the description box where you'll see links to my website for readings and so much more. So, as we continue to look at the 4's, we're going to start with the 4 of arrows here. And the 4 of arrows or wands relationship to the emperor or yesterday's foundation and to temperance. So wands or arrows brings us passion. All right. So we're in a place of passion, and in that place of passion, we are seeing a stability, an emotional stability occur. And that emotional stability isn't a dousing of the passion so much as it's a consistency. The passion is consistent. And we are actively involved in that passion and in maintaining its consistency. And we are seeing our passions or desires manifesting in these moments in the 4 of wands. All right. And this might bring us to decide that, we want to take this passion to the next level, which in a relationship, which it often depicts, that's what we see. And that desire to bring that relationship or that passion to the next level, and because it's wonderful and amazing and consistent, makes us want to celebrate. And so that's where we get celebration out of the Four of Wands. And we often choose to do those celebrations in ways that are traditional to our culture or ethnicity or religion. Um, and so this is where we see some really positive qualities of the Emperor in the Four of Wands. Now, all those things can also be overly controlling. They can be about being about possessiveness. There's a lot of negative things that will push us towards this um, moment of celebration in hugely negative ways. Um, but this is where we need to look to temperance in the four also. And this is frequent in the fours. We really want to look both at the 4 and the 14, because the 14 is where we see an adaptability. It's a next level up, a maturing and a growth of the 4, and it is it's internal. It's us. It's not necessarily external, such as the Emperor. Um, One thing that people struggle to see is, yes, so the Four of Arrows brings us to a point of celebration, but that's a weird thing to be tied to an emperor. Um, the emperor being a tie to celebration is really very historical and something that we still actually see today. So, it's in this time especially, but still today, you think of state holidays. They are sanctioned by the emperor role, whether that emperor role is an emperor, a king, or a president or a prime minister. That's the emperor role. They sanction celebrations. They make those celebrations legitimate, um, recognized, and also they're the ones who ultimately the recognition of your marriage, if the Four of Arrows is like a stability and celebration and um, stabilizing contract of marriage or of something else, um, that marriage is sanctioned, right? So um, that is a large part of where the celebration um, aspect of it gets tied to, and how that got pulled out of the concept of the 4s combining passion and the 4s, because the emperor sanctions celebrations, and really so many of them. um, we think that some things just naturally are, and the government okays it, like Christmas. But there was kings in, I think in England, one of the kings outlawed Christmas for a while. You couldn't celebrate it. Um, and then it became sanctioned again later on. But there was a time period where it wasn't a sanctioned holiday, and so there's this authenticity, credibility, validity sort of attached to celebrations when you bring in the emperor, which is definitely present in the Four of Arrows or Four of Wands. It doesn't have to be sanctioned, but it is. I recently described, and you can see it in Tarot Study Buddy video, um, about somebody's upcoming weekend if they were attending Pride. And the Four of Wands represented attending Pride, a celebration that is sanctioned by the government at this point of marriage and family and passion. So it represented Pride. It can represent Pride. And so these are the things that we can look at in the Four of Arrows, and where we can see both, those government ties and just the meanings of those words. Okay. In the Four of Weapons or Swords, we are experiencing oppression. And that can be an overt oppression, as is described here, or it can be the pressures and anxieties that build up on our lives and we feel like we can't get any rest or reprieve from. And the Four of Weapons or Swords asks us to find that time for rest and reprieve from those things. And when we think about the things that hang over top of us in the way that the Four of Weapons or Swords often describes, those are going to be direct oppressions. Those are going to be things like your taxes, your work, your finances, all these things that are tied to the state and are ways that people experience various levels of oppression depending on their hierarchical placement within that state. And so temperance comes in to the Four of Weapons or Swords as that other side. These are the problems that are occurring, and this is what you absolutely need to reach through. It's the Four of Weapons or Swords is pretty much a pairing of these two cards very much, and we're going to see that in other ways too. Where in the Four of Wands, what we saw was, this can go either way. In these cards, we see these two issues of the 4 and the 14 from the major, and needing to find that that balance or that stability or that out from the oppression via the balance of our emotions and of our spirit. In the Four of Weapons and Swords, you are especially going to see this in your anxieties and in the ways that you are attacked. It's going to be institutional. It's going to be through paperwork and legal systems, swords related things. 6, all right. 7, 8. And what we really need is that that rest, the reprieve, as a form of emotional balance, and so that we can clear our heads, because what we really need in the Four of Swords or Weapons is a clear head to make it through this. And we're only going to find that when we take the risk of that rest or reprieve, because rest or reprieve, sitting down in meditation feels hugely risky in the Four of Swords or Weapons, which we see here. We see a person who's got snipers trained on them and they're sitting down to meditate. It seems like a huge risk to sit down and meditate in this situation, and most likely it would be. But this is how it feels. Like it's impossible for me to stop and rest in the middle of what is going on. I can't possibly do that. It seems impossible. And so I depicted an impossible situation in which you should sit down and meditate, rest, find reprieve, and emotional, mental balance. This is the most impossible situation to do it in. And that's what the Four Swords or Weapons feels like. That the rest and reprieve, the meditation you are being told you absolutely need to have to get through this, seems absolutely impossible to take in that time period. There's no way I possibly have time to sit down or to lie down in this moment. I can't. It won't let me. I will be squashed. I will be defeated. But you have to do that. You have to do that unexpected rest and reprieve in order to have the clarity to figure out how you are going to get out of this, how you are going to survive this. And so that's how we see the Emperor or yesterday's foundation and temperance play out in the Four of Weapons. And this is a theme that is really similar when we move into the Four of Cups. Except in the Four of Cups, the impact is felt more emotionally. So in the Four of Cups, when we are feeling those very same those very same oppressions and anxieties, they're having a really different impact on us. All right. They are having an emotionally crushing impact on us versus like, it's not in our head, it's in our heart, it's in our gut, and it's attacking our self-worth. And this is making it difficult for us to look up from it because we're so attacked. It's having consequences and impacts on and our ability to look up from the disaster at our feet and see what else is being offered to us. And it's not easy. In this case, our person is reaching for a copper pot from the water because water in copper is sacred in my understandings of things. And it'd be really hard to reach for and grab that copper pot as it's like flowing down the river. And this person knows that this is what they need at this time in order to recover from what they've been through. And it's really difficult, but this is part of the Four of Cups, is that difficulty in reaching for that fourth cup. And it's also a difficulty in seeing it. In the traditional Four of Cups, the person is not seeing the fourth cup being offered to them because their self-worth is attacked. The ability to lift your head up and look up and see what else is being offered is really difficult in that Four of Cups moment. Plus, it's also difficult in those moments to trust what is being offered to you, because this Four of Cups moment has come from like a piling on of the Emperor-like oppression. The control is too great. The impacts of conservatism are too great. It's being imposed on you. These are things that are being imposed on you, and they play out emotionally. There's a great deal of order and control often tied to the things from which we are traumatized and our self-worth is attacked. So in the Four of Cups, we, after all of this, are looking to temperance, and we are reaching for that balance. And that balance comes in finding our self-worth and believing in ourselves, in a balance of expectations, where the expectations of others are no longer our own self expectations that we have to live up to. And instead, we can live up to expectations which we will be proud of, which we can reach for, and which are healthy for us. And then we can get back on track. We are able, after we do that, to start a slow process of healing that comes up next in the cups, but it's a process. So in the Four of Drums, or pence or coins, we see a different impact from the Emperor and a different need from Empress. The energy of pence or coins or drums is the earth. It's connection. It's security. It's finances. And these are all things that are strongly tied to the Four. This is stability. This is reason. It has become tradition. It is order. It's about what we are manifesting. And it's about a fear of losing those things. It's the Four of Drums, or pence and coins, is about the fear of losing stability. That the stability you have worked so hard to gain, in accordance to the 4's instructions, there's a fear that is at risk, that is going to be taken from you, that it is going to experience a loss, that you won't be able to hold on to it. And this fear it creates an imbalance in us that changes the way we interact with those things that bring us connection, and those things that bring us stability, and those things that bring us security. Because in the Four of Drums or Coins and Pence, we are acting from a scarcity mindset. We have tried so hard to be very emperor like in achieving a very material stability, mostly a material stability. It also does talk about interpersonal connections, but we've tried so hard to reach this stability that brings us moral and ethical acceptance in a capitalist colonial society. Your morality and your ethics are judged on your level of stability in this area. And so um, that fear that it can disappear, or that you haven't gained enough of it for your worth to be recognized, becomes really real. And so in the Four of Drums or Pence or Coins, what we need to find is a stability within our fears. We need to find emotional stability to overcome our fears and our worries and our concerns, and see what we do have and connect with what we do have, which brings the 4's to this interesting place. Like I said in the beginning, the words associated, the key words associated with the Emperor are positive and negative at the same time, depending how they are played out. And what Temperance brings is an adaptability to stability, an adaptability to control, an adaptability to reason, even an adaptability to war. What are we willing to fight for within ourselves? Are we willing to fight for our relationships? Are we willing to fight for our self-worth? Are we willing to take a moment to figure out how to fight for ourselves, for our survival? Are we willing to fight for our self-worth outside ourselves and how we're seen by others? Are we willing to fight for our own understanding of our self-worth outside of the things we have? And that, my dears, is the lesson of the 3's and the 4's. Do I want to add something? I think I do. Okay. I would say one of the larger lessons of the 3 and the 4's is the difference between how these actions play out in their positive ways and on micro levels, levels within our personal relationships, and then how they play out in negative ways and how they play out in macro levels in the terms of governance and other authorities and their impacts on us. And that authority in the 3 is also more of a micro authority. Is brings into question the authority of parents, or also partners in a nurturing type of authority, which can be overbearing as well. And like I said before, the 3's are about seeing things just outside your home. All right. And so certainly if you have 3 and 4 paired together, you're looking at something that is a lot more closer to home. And if you're looking at 4's and 5's together, you're looking most certainly more at structure and macro levels in that way also. Okay. And so that's where we look for those balances, and as well as those differences and the paths and answers that the 3's and 4's are leading us to. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to this video. Consider leaving friendly comments in the comment section. If you don't have friendly or constructive comments, then, you know, it wasn't for you. Also, do check out my website, which will be linked in the description box. In there, you can find out how to sign up to win the free weekly reading, how to take part in Tarot Study Buddy. You can book readings with me, sign up for my newsletter, and there are a few copies still available of the Landback Tarot and Oracle of Colonization, which you have seen here throughout these two videos, and they are on my website also in the drop down menu under shop. See you all later.